welcome back to another episode of the Koi Perspective podcast. I'm delighted to say we've got another guest this week. We've got Greg from Aqua Group. How are we doing, Greg?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I'm all right, although I know that you have got the bug, so if you are a bit...
if you hear a bit of sniffling and coughing, then tough, unfortunately.
There is a debate as to who gave it to who, though. Was it Joe gave it to Greg? Was it Greg gave it to Joe? How did they catch it?
Yeah, very true. But no, I've been up to Greg's site last week, and it's an awesome place that's been built currently. So I wanted to get him on and have a chat with Simon and Dave, my two regular co-hosts that you probably already know now. We've been on a couple of podcasts together now. How are we doing, guys?
Yeah, very
bad,
well.
Joe.
Very well, thank you.
Good Christmas.
Yeah, good Christmas. It's been good fun. Although, back on the monthly magazine grind now. Start with 0 pages full of content, and now I've got to make 60-odd pages. So, yeah.
Plenty of noisy toys.
Not sure about that one.
That's a personal question, Simon.
It's a good place to start the podcast, isn't it? I think Greg's present to himself for Christmas probably been a couple of days off, hasn't it, Greg?
Yeah, to be fair, I'm still off now. I'm not due back till the 6th, and I think that's why I'm ill, to be fair, because I've been back to back at work.
Yeah.
Starting. Yeah, and I think that's the problem. Once you stop, it just wipes you out, doesn't it? And
you know the answer, don't you?
Just keep working.
Just Christmas is expensive anyway. Let's just get rid of Christmas. Let's just go spring, summer, autumn, straight back through to spring again.
I thought Christmas would start getting cheaper as kids got older, but it doesn't. It gets more expensive.
Oh, it's a nightmare, isn't it?
And then they've got less as well, haven't they? They're like,
yeah, that's what I mean. They get less presents, but it gets more expensive.
Yeah, very true. Christmas can't come more expensive for Aqua Group at the minute because you're in the building stage.
That's
you're
yeah.
Building probably what I would say is one of the biggest aquatic facilities in the UK. Do you want to give people, just before we delve into like your background, do you want to give some people some context as to like the koi side of it?
Yeah, before we go on, it's for those that are on social media, there's been a lot on Facebook. So the brick pond specialist are the contractors installing the ponds, aren't they?
That's correct.
A lot of people would have seen it on that. If you haven't seen it, go on the Aqua page.
Dan certainly bangs a lot of content on there.
Yeah, but it's
he loves
honestly
his TikToks.
We've all had little snippets of what's going on, and I think everybody is sort of at the edge of their seat thinking, I want to see more, I want to hear more.
It does look surreal.
It does.
Yeah.
So do you want to give people a little bit of context as to what it is you're building up there?
Yeah, sure. So, like I say, focusing on the koi side of things, as you've touched on it, that it could be potentially one of the largest aquatic centres UK, Europe, maybe. I don't know. It depends on how much we keep building and how long we keep building for. But to break the facility down at the minute into like facts and figures, let's say, we've got 2 45-metre by 9-metre polytunnels. So that's a football pitch, essentially. So that's a decent bit of walking. So you'll get your steps in when you come to visit. And then they are split, and there's a shop that we're putting up in the middle as well. That would be pretty decent. I think I was measuring that out the other day, and I think that was coming in at a little under 50 metres square. So pretty considerable space as well for us to actually just stock our typical products that you'd expect to see on the shelf and things like that. Again, that shop dynamic will be very nice. Come in, welcome him, chilled out. No rush, not forced to do anything, if that makes sense. Just come and chat koi all day with me. That'll do me, if you know what I mean. That's what I get out of bed for, to be fair. We can just chew the fat on koi all day. But yeah, so back to the tunnels. One of the tunnels will be dedicated primarily to the retail side. There's 8 systems in there, but they're all the same, as daft as it is. They're all built with same filter base, same layout, same bottom drains. The only difference we have done is certain ones we've split them. So some are split into 4, 2, and then a single. So that breaks down into they're all 8 meters. So you've got an 8 meter, just honest, when you walk into one end of the tunnel, you just hit it by this great big long run of 8 meters, and you're like, wow, that's fantastic. You know what I mean? And obviously it's not finished in there. So just to be hit with that, you're like, I can't wait to fill that out. I've just got Dan every day going, can we fill it up yet? Can we fill it up yet? And I'm like, oh, no, we're not just filling it up. I know you want to. And so we've got them opposite each other. So everything's like kind of parallel as you go up. So if you've gone in for one of the entrances, you'd be hit with these 2 8 meters. And then you've got another 8 meters, but then they're split again with an internal wall. So they give or take, let's say the 4 meters. You know what I mean? We'll not go into what the blocks take out and things. But just looking at them, they're probably one of my favourite in there. They've just, when you stood at them, you've seen that as well, Joe.
Yeah,
And I think I
nice
mentioned when you
ponds,
visited. Yeah, you think, imagine that in your back garden. It take up your back garden. As simple as it. You know, it's crazy because you don't think, why are they this big? But we want it, so obviously we can hold the stock that we want to. Nothing's, bottlenecked in there, forced in there. And while we're obviously holding them for selling, we can bring them on. We don't want anything to depreciate. It wants to come across and literally have the best time with us. And obviously when you guys come over and visit, you'll think, yeah, do you know what? Actually, these guys do care about these fish. They're not all just like I say. It's easy to say, right, I'll put loads of vats everywhere and just chuck fish in and just chew them out. And you can tell when that's happening. And we don't want that dynamic. So we've got them ones, and then it splits down now to the remaining 4 systems, and then they're split into 4. And then again, some people will look at that and think that's a crazy size pond, because each system is roughly 16,000 litres. So that makes even them that are split into 4,000 litre ponds. Which is obviously it's a decent amount of volume, isn't it? So you imagine like the toe sign, knee sign there that can literally just get some food chucked in there and just swim all day long and then enjoy living in there essentially. Every system, again, like I touched base on, are all the same. So they're all running the Awasi Premium Compact L's, and then we're running individual modules on the back of those. We're running to not get too technical into all the pipe work and things like that, there's the Eco Max pumps running on there. One will run through the UV system, and one will just be dedicated straight back. So we've got plenty of flow going in and out. And then we'll have some separate pumps on the backs of the ponds, and we'll be doing various sizes of backy showers with ceramic media as well. It's all obviously not be very good for running costs.
Are all those going to be heated, Greg?
Yes. So when you break it down, obviously that's 8 systems, which makes 22 ponds by how they are split. And yes, they'll all be, again, independent systems and then individually heated with air sources. So they've all got Remora pumps on there because we move a lot of those units, and they're pretty decent.
Filtration-wise, it's predominantly Awasa.
Yes.
Shower-wise?
So we've got essentially our own fabricators that are putting the showers together for us. So that'll lead into, you'll see those on the back, and then there'll be something that are available for retail at some point as well. So we've tried to do it where obviously we have got kit that someone goes, what do you believe in this? And you go, well, yeah, it's running this setup, if that makes sense. And I think that's the best way of doing it, to be fair. So we'll be doing that, and then obviously I've not fully decided on what ceramic media I'm going to put in there yet.
Don't tell me they're all going to be filled with backy house media, because pound sounds are just rolling in my head.
No media side. They're just going to have like notes, £5 notes, £10 notes, and then the water will trickle through it.
I'll just create the illusion. I'll just put a little bit at the front, and then I'll just like, it's got 120 kilo in there. Just don't look. Just do not look.
So in terms of so who's done all the design for it? Obviously the Brick Pond Special. I've seen stuff from them. I've followed them for years now, and I love some of the stuff they do. And personally, I really like a brick pond. I just think they're timeless. I think they're extremely classy. But who's done a lot of the design work? Has that fallen on your shoulders?
Yes, so it did. I'll not take all of the praise for it, because obviously a lot of it I have to hand back to the owner, Nick Hugill. So there's a lot of the times where I'll go, I've got a brilliant idea, and he'll look at me and I'll go, no. And I'll just go, right, okay, I'll come back to you. And we have a lot of that. And eventually I come together with this plan, and I got the thumbs up. And like I say, we discussed how the filters were going to run in terms of, do we have them at the side of the ponds, which brings its own issues, or do we have them at the back of the ponds, and that brings its own issues and things. And it was working out, as with anything, we all know in our head exactly what we want to build, but then you have to say, right, hold on, practically, if I do that, we're all going to be like this on the path in the middle, and then all of a sudden you're extending buildings, and it gets a little bit, it goes a bit too much, doesn't it, at that point? So we chewed the fat on a few ideas and predominantly come up with what we've got now, which is obviously the straight run. And I do think it works very well because, again, Joel has seen this, when you walk through the far end door, let's say, at the minute, and the shop will do it the same when we're coming through the other entrance, you kind of, obviously the resin will be done and there's something nice going into the resin floor as well, but you'll kind of come in and then you'll look up and go, I've got to walk all the way down there.
Yeah.
And you're just going to be hit with, like I say, you've just hit a nail on the head with these brick built ponds. The quality of how they look in person, you know, I mean, you try and do everything you can in pictures and videos to do them justice, but when you actually stood there, you know, you do the typical, I'll lean on this a minute, I'll perch my bum on it sort of thing. You just feel really like, you know what, I could stay in here all day, to be fair. And then once that is running and you've got the water and the fish and things, I think a lot of people will just want to come up and say they've been, if you know what I mean. It definitely
and hopefully spend some pennies.
Yeah, that would be much appreciated. Yes, it keeps me in a job.
The problem is with how long it is, and once you've got fish in there, you're going to have difficulty getting from one end of tunnel to other.
Without spending your entire wallet, basically.
It's like the supermarkets when they put the sweets near the counter, and so the kids go, "Oh, I'll have some of that, please." It's going to be exactly the same. Yeah, there'd be certain fish leading you, but no, it sounds awesome.
Yeah.
So, did you draw any inspiration from anywhere when you was doing the design or working with the owner to do the design?
Not really, to be fair. Obviously, over my years of being a hobbyist, I've visited many dealers across the country. So you have bits of inspiration, but I've not looked at a facility and gone, we'll just do that, if that makes sense. It's just been like, at home I've got a brick pond. Looking, when I found Dan eventually, because it was a nightmare finding someone that would take on, you know, when you explain to someone this job, I think they're like what is he on about? Like, that's not going to take off. Like, I remember even Dan visiting the site, and we stood out in the snow. It was last December time, I think it was. He stood there and he's like, and I could tell he's thinking, "You're wasting my time here, lad." You know what I mean? Like, because that's what he's like. He's very cut with it, and I think he's thinking, go in his van, and thought, I'll never see them again. And then obviously the phone calls in the new year, I'm like, no, we need you. Like, let's get you over here, sort of thing. So through looking at what he'd built and things, obviously it's in the name, the brick pond specialist. We knew we was going to get what we wanted to get. I know he does a lot of, you know, like your tile face things and what have you, and things like that as well. And he was quite thankful that we did do bricks, because he was like, yeah, everyone just does tiles all the time. But then when the bricks turned up, he'll laugh at this if he watches this. The bricks, they were so dusty, chalky, God knows what. We was having to water the bricks daily before we could lay them, because he'd literally just put them on the gobbo, and then he'd be like, "Get me another." And they would just like that going off, and he was fuming. And you know what I mean? Any swear word you could think of, you got that every other brick.
Who chose the bricks then? Who sourced the bricks?
That was Nick that picked them ones. He was like, "These look fantastic, these do," and they do look fantastic. But obviously he hasn't had to lay them. I've not really had to lay them. It's been Dan's problem.
So with that then, Greg, so what's your background? Do you come from a construction background? Do you come from a business background?
No, yeah, so I'm more business. I've been in hospitality since I was 15, catering, pot washing, things like that, and then chefing, and then started my own couple of companies and run a couple of golf clubs, sandwich shops and pubs and things like that. And then, yeah, that's what I've mainly done. So I'm quite business and hospitality driven. So I like hosting, I like looking after people, if you get me. So that'll come across with obviously my business side for everything in the background that we need to obviously make sure that it's a business that makes sense. But I know that when we can get people on site, they'll probably think the same way. They're like, is this lad going to shut up? Or because I want that fish, but it just keeps, jibber jabbering on. But I just like talking to people, to be honest with you. Especially if we're all we're all in the hobby. We've all got passion for it.
Of all the hobbies, I think koi people, me included, really like to talk anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it's a big tip, and I think that's where sometimes the koi industry, dealerships, and the business side of things probably don't go hand in hand with the type of people that hobbyists are. Again, me included. No offence to anyone, this is including me. Is that really you buy something cheap, you get someone in, they buy it, they're out the door quick. That's good business, but with the koi industry is quite slow, isn't it? So I think you bringing that spin on things would be fantastic.
Well, it's very socially driven, and that's a big thing that I've obviously been portraying since I started working at Aqua Group. That it's not as easy as let's put a product out there and it'll sell. Obviously goods do that, but I think, like we're saying, with the koi side, it's just nice to be able to just go and have a chat. And that's what has always brought me back to dealers in the past. There's nothing worse than just like you just said, straight in. Oh, can I have that? Yeah, thanks. Thumbs up, off the go, sort of thing. There's nothing worse than that. When you do come to visit, it'll certainly be a nice day out.
I think one of the things that you mentioned to me, and like you mentioned that you have visited quite a few koi dealers in your time of being a hobbyist, Greg, and you mentioned about like sometimes standing over a pond and like there's too much in a pond sometimes to look at, in terms of like varieties and size and things. And one of the like really unique things on this site that you build in the facility is you're going to have the capability to almost have ponds fulls of just varieties and keep them unique and separate from each other, and have a pond full of Shiros and then a pond full of metallics, and it could be.
And that was a massive dynamic of going into the build again. That it's so easy to just buy a pot of fish, a bowl of fish, you name it, ponds, and just throw them in and just be like, so a customer comes in and says, I'm looking for a hit, sorry, and just go, have a look round, you know what I mean? And then you're chasing yourself, and it's hard to then be like weighing up all these fish, and then you then start, from a customer point of view, you think, I really want to see that one, so you're then forcing someone to maybe bowl it up for you. Then there's one at the other side of the facility and you want that one bowling up, and that alone can be quite a bit of a stressful buying experience, I think. I think even for the fish as well, I don't think it's good practice just getting them out all day long, putting them in, getting them out, putting them in. It's a bit unnecessary. So that dynamic that I really want to bring to the table, if I can pull it off, will be like what you just said, where you could just say, right, third pond on your left, that's got 50 here, so it's in it. You know what I mean? They're from such and such, or there might be a mix in there depending on how long we've had them and brought them on and things like that. And then you could say, and then actually I've got some really nice pieces right down in the bottom ponds, so you can see that bloodline could potentially be something like that. You know what I mean? Don't hold me to it, but you know what I mean, they're from the same sort of.
You got to take your customers on the vision, aren't you? I mean, one of the, like when I got into koi, I remember distinctly, like I went to Kitsu Koi was the first dealership I ever went to that really like changed my perception on koi. I went for some like waterfall foam for my goldfish pond, and walked in, and I went into like the main pond, and they're like huge Karashigoi that Carl and Alex owns now. You might have seen it, and it was there. And I think if I'd have given it a boiled egg, it'd have swallowed it whole. It was just absolutely ginormous, and it had hand feed. And that was the day I thought, I need to get into koi. Like I want a 90 centimeter Karashigoi like this one. And if you can take your customers on that journey and say, well, you can't afford this 90 centimeter Karashigoi, but down the bottom there's some smaller ones from the same bloodline. Too many times I think hobbyists are maybe taken the wrong way, and they spend the money first rather than learning that you can do it a little bit cheaper. And it is possible.
It's almost like the Titanic was. It's done in class systems. That's what I hate seeing. So there is no bridged gap between first starting out and getting to the point where you're handpicking your own koi and you know exactly what you want. That gets lost. I think there's a lot of people end up at World of Water, and I think we're all aware of how we end up with pond fillers wasting money. Whereas if you could take that into a dealership, and there is something from the very beginner, and equally the budget, so very low down in the budget, right to the top of the budget. Whereas at the moment, what we're seeing in the UK, again, no offence to any dealers listening, what we're seeing is some dealers are going off to the top end of the market, and we're seeing dealerships becoming very expensive and catering perhaps to the rich. And then you're getting others are going to the cheaper end of the market, and then we're missing that bit in between. So yeah, if we a huge dealership that can cater for all of them would be brilliant.
Yeah, and exactly that is on the agenda as well. That, like I say, otherwise you are penalising one pot, aren't you? Really, and I want to be able to bring to the market that, I mean, the quality's there, but you don't always have to pay that high demanding prices as well, because it's so easy for a lot of dealers will do it. They'll look at a fish, they'll do a big spiel for it, they'll say it's very high quality, a couple of fire symbols on the WhatsApp or something, and all of a sudden it's worth four times the value, if you know what I mean. And I get it, and again, we're here to sell a product, and you essentially say, look, there's only one of these. It's very rare. You will never get another one of these, and it's probably true because there is only one of that. But does it mean you can just, create some form of extortion if you just, know what you need to make out of it, and that's what you have to sell it at, if that makes sense. And I think that's a dynamic that I'll be quite flat with the pricing, that we'll look across the board at the fish and say, right, it is a business. Unfortunately, it's not a charity, but deliver that quality at the same time so people can appreciate, I can get my low end quality fish and I can get my high end if I want it. And then there's definitely that middle ground, which is where I think a lot of people do sit when they've got really into the hobby. They will look at that sort of middle pricing, unless they really want to splash the cash, or they want to essentially buy into the shows and things like that. And that's all part of, if they want to do that, we'll be able to deliver that. And then if there's people that, we will have all been the same. At some point we started with that £20 fish, that £50 fish, and it leads to where we are now having these sort of discussions.
What do we started with? I'm still there.
So Greg, how long have you been a hobbyist, and how did you get into it, and how did you feel when you were approached to take on this mammoth task?
I suppose looking back, I can't quite pinpoint when I got into it. I suppose I could probably work out when I started not having any money, unless it was for koi, and then I can find lots of money. I can always say to the missus, I just got to get this.
Essential.
Yeah, exactly. No shopping this week, you know what I mean? Kids can go hungry, but look at the quality of this fish. I'm probably a good on 10 years, if not prior to that. I got into it. I've always had like tropicals at home and things like that. I'd always be like, turn up at home and I put a 5-foot tank in the living room or something. I've always been a bit too much, if that makes sense. I don't like doing things by half. But yeah, probably looking back 10 years ago, I think I just started digging a hole in the back garden once. Put a bit of a prefab pond in the ground with another prefab leading into that. And I don't know what filter was on it or what pump was on it. And then I'm sure I chucked some plants out the local canal in it. And I thought, job done. Look at that pond. And again, there's nothing wrong with that, but I genuinely, at that point, I was just like, well, pond's a pond, isn't it? If you know what I mean. Filled that in after probably 6 weeks. I was like, no, that is not working. And then I probably dropped out of it for a bit. I was following fishing things and selling tropicals at home things. And then probably, 8 years ago or something, I got someone in and we did I thought again, bee's knees. I'm going to get a really good pond here. And I did a 4-foot straight off the ground, straight off the deck, sleeper pond. It doesn't help because I'm about 3'8" as it is. So
finally, someone our height.
Dave's got competition.
I thought you were sat down, Dave. Obviously not.
Oh dear.
And so I thought, right, this is the bee's knees, and I didn't, I got the guy out. He's going, do you want bottom drains? Do you want pump fed? And I'm just like, straight over my head. But it wasn't emphasised or pushed enough on like what this is and what that is. I think there's a lot of pond builders out there that they'll just turn up and just build you what, or meet a budget or what you want, if that makes sense. And then they've got some bits knocking about in a van or a warehouse, and it kind of all bundles together and you end up with a pond. And that's essentially what I ended up with. So I ended up with just pumps chucked in the pond, pumping through a brick wall that we'd clawed a hole in to an easy pod. And then that was like, I think, it might have gone to a pressure filter, daisy chain, to an easy pod. And I was like, yeah, this is mega, this. And it did do the job. I had clarity. The koi that I had wasn't anything of, in particular value. The guy who built the pond went, I can turn up with 10 fish. 10 fish turned up at one go and went in. You say that to anyone now, they go, you know what I mean? And so obviously they went in and nothing happened. They grew. I didn't have no issues, no headaches. Over time, I started then reading into koi, getting really into it, starting to look at what was going on. I don't think I wasn't to the level I am now into it. I was just like, I like fish, and I could appreciate. I didn't really know the difference between Japanese koi and Israeli koi. I just go to a garden centre, and it would then, whatever price for the fish was meeting my budget and what I liked, I'd buy it. Because I am a big believer in, if you like it, buy it. Don't be like, well, I've read it in this and I've been told that don't buy it because of this discerning feature and we assassinate it. And it's like, if you like it, put it in your pond, you know what I mean? Enjoy it. And the amount of people that then take fish out because they're like, oh, well, it's got such markings and I don't like that now. And you're like, it's been fine for 5 years in your pond, but now you've read it somewhere, so you're getting rid of it. So yeah, I'm a big believer in you buy what you like. So I did that. I was running that pond for quite a few years, and then I'm trying to think now, probably pre-pandemic, so whenever that was, 2018, 2019, I'm not too sure now. I thought, do you know what? I'm going to go hardcore now. I'm just looking outside of the pond now, and I went, right, do you know what? I want to go big. And I said to the missus, I says, you see this boundary here? I want to build a pond there. And I still don't think she believed me to this day, because I literally, it does take up like 3/4 of the garden, essentially, you know what I mean? The first day it was built, the dog walked outside and the dog was like, right, I don't know where I'm going to do my business from now on. Just find her paddling across the pond, you know what I mean? So that shocked the dog a little bit.
How big is it?
It works out at around 30,000 litres.
Crikey, it is big.
Yeah, so it is a decent size, but span-wise, I think it's like 17 foot by 18 foot or something, whatever that works out.
It's a really good size.
So if I come to net a fish, I'm like, really? You know what I mean? So I do get some backache if I'm trying to net them, and it's partially out the ground and in the ground. So yeah,
it's the age-old tale, that though, isn't it? They say go as big as you can, but then when you build a big pond and then you cut your actual net in your fish.
I know, and that's it. If I look back now, I probably would have built it maybe half the size. It would have helped with treatments without a doubt, because you get hit with flukes and God knows what, and you just think, how much? You know what I mean? And then you think, I've got rid of the buggers, and then you check them and you go,
there again.
Great. And then I'm saying,
yeah, go on, carry on.
And I'm just saying to Mrs., we're not eating again next week, you know.
Yeah, we had Adam Webb on, and he's on that scale, isn't he?
Yeah,
totally.
He's on the £1,000 a treatment a next to go.
It's crazy, isn't it? And you don't really consider it, do you? I think you just think, I want this really big volume of water, so I can put big fish in it, grow them, blah blah blah, and then you then start looking at electric meter whizzing around and all the other factors it brings with it. Because obviously when I had this, it has got an air source on it. Just check Mrs. in. Yeah, Mrs. in. It's holding at 8 degrees at the minute.
Okay.
Just because she keeps looking at the smart meter, and I moan when the tumble dryer goes on. So it's a bit of a secret battle at the minute, if that makes sense.
Oh dear.
I have heated for longer periods through the winter in the past, but it gets too much, you know what I mean? You do get obviously the benefits from it, without doubt, but it's that fine line between, is it really worth chasing it sometimes, depending on what you're getting out of the hobby? You can just be spending, and it's a bit of a vanity sort of thing. So now I'm just literally like, keep them healthy, keep them happy. There's, it's been quite mild at the minute, isn't it?
Mm.
So they're still popping up at 8 degrees for a bit of food and things like that, and it's keeping them off the bottom, which is a priority for me.
So at what point did you get an anonymous phone call to say, Greg, I want to build the biggest koi facility in the UK? And by the way, it's just in this. Well, you can tell whereabouts it is, but I mean, how did that phone call go? And did you believe him, or did you think you were getting prank called to begin with?
No, yeah. So as daft as it is, it wasn't even like that. To be fair, I just come across he was just doing an average post on Facebook. To be fair, I never heard of the place. Never thought about heading over to there and things like that. And I just seen that they was looking for someone that had got some skills within, in the koi industry. Equally said about reptiles and marine and things like that. I was doing my current businesses, and I seen it, and I thought, I do want that shift. I'm at that point where I'm fed up with doing what I am doing. Do I just apply, sort of thing? So I applied, didn't really think too much of it. And then probably an hour or two after sending the email, got one straight back from Nick, the owner, asking me to come and visit. So I thought, all right, that's promising. Went over a day or two later, and we just hit it off straight away. I say he's so business minded. He's got such a passion for the aquatic side, which is obviously a massive bonus. That we could just chew the fat on essentially what his plans were long term for the site. He always calls it a 50-year plan, which is brilliant. Which means that we'll have plenty of work to do, and it's brilliant for the country, to be fair, and anyone in any of the industries in terms of the reptiles and the marines and the koi, that we will constantly be delivering, which I think is vital, to be fair. Otherwise, we'll just stagnate. So we just chewed the fat for quite a while. It should have probably been quick 20-minute in and out interview, and we're probably there for 3 or 4 hours. I've got missus ringing me because I've travelled a good hour and a half to meet Nick at the time, and I think she's thinking, he's out buying koi. That's where he's gone. He's always got a job interview and he's gone out buying koi. I know his trick.
I love the fact that across the industry, across the hobby, none of our wives, husbands, whatever, would accuse us of having an affair first. The assumption would always be he's doing something to do with ponds or koi.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that. I might put that on a t-shirt.
It's true.
It's not an affair, it's a koi deal.
It's true though, isn't it? It's if I'm doing something I shouldn't be doing, my wife will straight away, if she puts it in the message on the phone, whatever, she says, "Are you doing something with koi?" It's I could go away for 4 days. I could go away every Thursday, Friday for the next 6 weeks. Show receipts of staying in a hotel, and she won't assume I'm having an affair. She'll say, "What dealer are you visiting?"
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant. But Greg, like when he were taking you through it, like, did you think, bloody hell, like how am I going to do this? Like, or did you think like, this is possible? Because to me, the cynic in me would have been like, nah, I don't believe you.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. Like, obviously, you've seen the site and you kind of walk around and you scratch your head a bit and you think, what's going on here? It's crazy. And like I say, I had Dan visit and he was thinking, yeah, I'll not be back here. And obviously, talking to Nick and the aspirations behind everything one wants to do, and you could see that success in the marine side anyway while I was on site. You really think, yeah, do you know what? This, you kind of think to yourself, no. But then you go, it will. I can see it's coming. And I think that a lot of people will see that when the facility obviously does get fired up and gets opened. Obviously, we've been releasing the content, as I said earlier, the pictures and videos here and there. It's just difficult sometimes getting that across to people because we haven't obviously got people actively visiting the site other than like the marine people or the reptile side of things. So I think, obviously if us guys start touching base on things more at this site, I think it's really going to start making a few people look up and think, hold on a minute, you know what I mean? And they'll certainly be putting it on the map and thinking, I need to get across to see them.
I don't know whether you've done it on purpose, but I think the little snippets has worked really well. I think you could have gone full on, thrown it in people's faces every day, every week, saying, look what we're building. I think me personally and the people that I've spoken to, those little snippets are really getting people's mind going.
Less is more. Yeah, less is more. Yeah. If I just went, right, you know what, it's day 228, and I just do a Big Brother sort of thing, and then I do this day 229, you'd start thinking, not interested. It's just Dan swearing at one more break, you know what I mean? And do you really want to watch, you know what I mean, all them windows go in? You'd get to that point where you're like, look, glass is glass, isn't it? So we have tried to...
Gets a bit boring after part 378, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So it's been finding them little...
Careful what we say there, Si.
So it's just finding them little milestones that we've hit. So like... I think our last sort of social post was the quarantine side of things. So obviously back onto the facility. We've dedicated the other 45-metre tunnel. A section of that is dedicated purely to 3 more systems, all individually heated as well. And they're 8-metre runs as well. We've not split them or anything, but we can obviously split them with nets and things like that. But the idea behind that is that we wanted to truly have a dedicated quarantine system. So, you know, I mean, anyone can... I don't like the idea of quarantining in the retail side, you know what I mean? Let's let the fish look the best, be the best, you know what I mean? Shipments can come in, they can go out the way, they can have their time that they need, and then we can slowly bring them across. Obviously, initially, because there's obviously going to be a lot of fish to bring across, before we obviously open, we'll use all 22 ponds, well, the other 8 systems plus the other 3 to bring that stock across. But that's a massive added benefit of obviously being able to heat them all as well. So obviously the heat ramping's not going to be an issue.
Have you calculated how many litres it all holds?
Well, if you work out on average, the large ones are 16,000 litres, and then obviously there's 11 systems of that. I mean, quick maths, what's that going to put you at? 170,000 possibly, you know.
76,000.
Yeah, is that where it was? 176. Yeah, so it's a lot of water. I think it'll take more than a day to fill up, to be honest with you. Maybe 2 days. So it is going to take some doing. But again, I think we want that volume just so that we don't want to bottleneck it. We don't want to force fish all over the facility. We want to take our time with it. And
one of the things that I think needs to be like, you know, you've done this quarantine system. A lot of koi dealers now are quarantining in sales tanks, are they? You'll see them like quarantining in their actual for sale facility, and that's sometimes just to do with space. And some koi dealers don't have the space to not do that, and that's understandable. But it's just kind of like one of them extra things that you're doing for the betterment of the fish. And for example, like you've mentioned, the all the tanks are built with the purpose of being able to like for them to be healthy. One of the main like killers for me as a koi hobbyist is going into a koi dealer's premises and seeing last year's tosai that have only grown half a centimetre but lost 15 centimetres in body shape,
in body mass,
body mass, and they almost look like they've shrank. And you guys will know what I mean. And I really think it is the death of a koi dealer is because they don't ever sell them fish and they hold out to make the money back on them or to make the profit margin on them. And I really do think if what you're trying to do really does come to a reality, there's nowhere operating on the scale that you'll be working at. And I think the proof will be in the pudding, water when you got all your fish up there and getting people down. That's going to be the bit, isn't it, that makes the difference.
Yeah, and well, I'll be buzzing. I'll absolutely love it, to be fair, because like I say, you'll just, again, the facility, you'll just be talking about the ponds themselves, how the facility feels. You'll see obviously the dedication that's gone into it in and around the actual site itself. Even when you just arrive at the air base and things, you'll be just being a bit of an awe as it's leading you up to come down and see us, if that makes sense. And then again, you're hit by these fish that aren't just, right, let's just buy loads of ponds out in Japan and let's just chuck them in and let's just stick a price on them, see what happens, sort of thing. Anyone can do that. I don't think it's definitely not on the plans to be doing that. Again, less is more, like we're doing snippets of the footage. I'd rather us have nice steady stocking density, especially initially as well. Anyway,
so Greg, when it comes to getting your fish in and stocking your ponds, who's going to be in charge of your inventory and getting fish stock?
Yeah, so that'll come down to myself. That will.
Yeah, you'll be going out to Japan to do that yourself, will you?
That's correct. Yeah. So Nick, the owner, will be coming across as well. He'll obviously have a tight rein on myself to make sure that I don't go a bit crazy.
Is it true we're coming with you?
Yeah, that's fine as long as you take me and cover all my expenses. That's not.
Well, it'll be on Joe's card, I'm afraid.
There we go
again. Another one.
But yeah, so that is the plan. We'll be going over if all goes where we need it to. We'll be going over in March. We'll probably release more on exactly dates, what we're doing, where we're buying from in the new year as the site progresses. Again, lots of little bits of snippets just to keep spiking people's bits of interest behind that.
Teasing us.
Yeah, that's it. I like to tease you a little bit. And then obviously we'll have them across, and then hopefully we'll be ready for the grand opening. We're planning for May. There's no guarantee on that. That's just where we're aiming for, ready for the sort of season, if that makes sense. Big plans for the opening day as well. We'll do a lot of things differently. I think that'll pull a lot of people across as well. What we're planning for actually opening with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, nice. So we'll see you. We said April, didn't we?
Yeah.
Yes.
So very much looking forward to that.
It'd be nice to cover shipment night or something like that. So if we can do something like a live podcast or just a video feature on your guys' channels, that'd be nice.
Yeah. Have you had help from any other dealers in the UK?
No.
It's all been.
Yeah, just literally, it's been me on my lonesome, if that makes sense. So obviously, I know all the other dealers and things like that, but we have just kept it all in house. It's just Aqua Group. There's no other person on the koi side as well, staff wise. So it is literally me all day, every day, planning, plotting, working out what we're going to do, and liaising. We've got a good team in terms of our office staff. We've got people that look after the marketing, the website. We've got obviously the marine side. There's a couple of members of staff there, shop manager, and then obviously the reptile side. So there's a fantastic bubble of family there, if you know what I mean. I think even Joe, I gave him a quick snippet of the casino room we've got on site. Popped in there, didn't we, Joe? So that's a big thing that we can do on site as well as a team, that we all support each other without a doubt. But koi wise, it's just me. But Dan, obviously the brick pond specialist, he talks a lot of fish as well, so that helps in terms of when we're just chinwagging all day every day. And he appreciates that as well, because obviously typically he'd just be there building a pond for someone, and that's probably their start of their journey as well. So he'd be saying, "Oh, let's do this, let's do that," and obviously they're a bit like, "Oh, no, I'm happy with just."
It's worth saying. Yeah, go on, sorry.
No, I was just going to say. So, how does your other half take all this on? Then, is she supportive of it all?
No, she is, to be fair. When I get home from work, I still tend to walk straight through the house and straight to my pond, which I think I see eye twitching a little bit. She's like, you've been looking at fish all day, you've been building ponds all day, your fish are all right, trust me, they're fine, if you know me. And then I'll be sat there on my phone and I'm looking at what's going on in Japan, I'm flicking through fish and I'm going, do you like this fish? You know, and she's just like,
because it must take some hours out of your day if you're doing it all on your lonesome.
Yes, it's it does take a lot, if you know what I mean. Like I say, at the minute we are building from 7 o'clock in the morning. So for me, it takes about an hour and 10 to get to work. So it's a 5 o'clock start every day for myself. Get up, get cracked on, get over there, hit it hard, and then obviously I've got the journey on the back of the day. So they are very long days through the week, but I love it. And then obviously when I get home, if I've got some messages to pick up, and people are inboxing, the social side of things and what have you, I just get on with it. But I think that comes back down to my background, where I'd always been self-employed anyway, so you don't switch off, which that's the difference, I think, why this job does suit me from some other people may genuinely be like, right, it's 9 till 5, I'm done. And that's probably what is the strange dynamic for here, is that you'll do the same, that when you think of dealers, you'll associate a person with that dealership without a doubt, you know what I mean? And you expect them to probably be at the end of the phone. They're the ones that you'll see pop up on the socials and things like that. So I have to do that, even though it's not my business. It wouldn't be right for me to just say, right, that's it, 9 till 5, switch off, if that makes sense. So you do get that presence from myself. I'm dedicated to put that into the job, if that makes sense.
You reap what you sow, don't you?
Yeah, and again, because I just enjoy it, you know what I mean, you might not even be looking to buy a fish or something, you're just essentially chatting to me all night, and I'll just keep pinging messages back, and I'll just slowly get daggers off the missus, if you know what I mean. So anyone who does message me, if I go quiet for a little bit too long,
she's decked him.
Yeah, put me on a milk bottle or something, because I've gone, you know what I mean. You see loads of koi go up for sale or something, all of a sudden she's had me.
Do you think you'll move closer once it's all up and running?
Possibly not, to be fair.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I've just got my roots where I am, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Family, 2 children, so I'm very family orientated in that respect. Where I live, it's my home, so I'm a bit more than bricks and mortar. And then I look at the pond and I think, what do I do with that? so yeah, maybe it's the koi pond that's keeping me, actually. That could have just all been bull, what I've just said, and it's just literally because I like the pond.
Have you kept your other businesses, or have you gone everything into this?
Yeah, just all gone, and I just literally dedicate everything into this.
It's
which
cool.
I think you have to be fair. I think it's got to be what it is, and it is paying off, and you can see that. I say with the facility that's going to, obviously, when it is finished, you'll think, wow, and again, you'll come and visit me, and you'll think, what a nice chap.
Well, to be fair, I've got something that'll make your commute to work a little bit easier, to be fair. I've heard that this is new podcast that's coming out on...
it's crap.
So you can stick that on when you're in the car every week.
It's a load of rubbish, don't bother.
So... No, I think it's good. I think one of the main things is a lot. You've been a hobbyist before, and like taking into what you want from a koi dealer and being able to like put your name on Aqua Group as a koi dealer and design it around what you want. It's going to be like a major part of it, isn't it? And for us 3 here, I think that all resonates. And we've all got ideas, and not everything at Aqua Group is going to be perfect for every koi hobbyist. No. Some people might look at it and go, I prefer to go to my small-time backyard koi dealer who I've been dealing with for 20 years, and it might seem a little bit too commercial. For balance, for a lot of people, it might seem too commercial, and that might be that. But I wanted to get you on here because I think it adds a bit more personality to, Aqua Group and what you're doing, and it might change people's perceptions of it. The other thing that I think is there'll be a lot of koi dealers absolutely bricking it off the back of this podcast as well.
Bricking it. I like what you done there, Joe.
Like brick pond specialists bricking it, because they'll have to potentially up the game to deal with what's around the corner. And
well, I think all competition's only good for hobbyists, personally.
Yeah. That's what I was leading into. I think people have got to keep making it better and better for the industry purposes. And if there's nobody pushing the boundaries, then it just stagnates, like you say. I've just done a feature that'll be out by the time this podcast comes out about Fitz fish ponds in America, for example. And I know we're not here to talk about them today, but as an example, they're buying more fish in Japan than Narita Koi Farm are now.
Mm.
And his business was all about taking koi to the next level in America. And we're talking about something that can do something similar here in the UK, potentially. So, I don't want to sit here and just make it a bit of a salesy podcast for the Aqua Group. That's not what it's about. I want to give people context behind what the business is and let people make their own decision. But I, for one, am excited for something a little bit different and something that's not been in this industry for maybe the last 50 years, really, isn't it? So,
and I think, like you say, if you think across the country, I mean, down south, there's nothing. We've got very few. We've got Koi Water Barn, what I use. We've got little local dealers, but in terms of something big, everything is up beyond the Midlands. And it drives me mad that I'm having to drive 3 or 4 hours every time. But it's got to a point where in the last year, I think as a group, we've been to lots of different places. But already we've got to repeat visiting the places we've already visited because there isn't anything new. It needs something new. It needs to be revitalised. It needs something a bit exciting because there is a bit of a stigma placed on it. They're all very similar. This is what you're visiting. It needs something special, doesn't it?
Well, I certainly think we'll be bringing that to the table. And hopefully, again, with competition-wise, it'll get a few other people thinking, we'll up our games with that. We'll have a stab at it. I've been meaning to get into the industry and it'll bring more people to the table. It's only good for the hobbyist to some extent. So if you got more and more areas as well, like you've just said, that if everything is in one area, it does make it a little bit difficult, without a doubt. But again, you'll travel if you know it's certainly worth it.
Definitely.
So as a koi hobbyist then, you're heading off to the mecca of being a koi hobbyist in March.
Israel.
Yeah, not off to Israel. That would be a little bit of a bizarre twist to the tale, wouldn't it? We built 20 odd ponds after Israel. But how excited are you for that, and what are you expecting off the back of that?
Well, yeah, it's going to be crazy, to be fair. Like I say, it's for myself anyway. In general, I've not been abroad for, I don't know, probably 15 years, to be fair. So it'll be a bit of a So it's because I've got koi, haven't I? So I can't afford no else. So it'll be nice to just essentially get on a plane and disappear anyway. But just visiting Japan itself for me, I just love the culture. If you've ever come across any bits on Instagram, Facebook, I do a little bit of TikToking when I'm bored and things. I try and put bits. I think I've got bits in the background where I am now in the conservatory. Again, another place the missus says, "You took over there." Right, this is our house, not your house.
I know that saying.
And I've got to dust all of that, and it's just like, just leave it. It's fine. Don't you worry about it. So just the thrill of going to Japan, and just essentially getting my boots on the ground there will be fantastic anyway. And then I say, just touching base on the koi side of things, I know, again, you can watch all these YouTube videos, see what people's up to, read about it, but I think I'll just be a bit, when I first get there. Definitely just turning up to the farms, and again, you'll be like, just, that a lot of them, the standards, you think, what on earth, I'm going to drown here, surely, do not let me fall in here. So I know there'll be a lot of that depending on where we visit, things like that, and it'll be a bit chaotic and then a bit surreal, and then obviously just meeting the people over there, the dealers, you name it. I just think I'll come back and I'll be like, right, ready, let's go again, if you know what I mean. But again, I know it's going to be difficult while I am there, because up here I'll be constantly thinking, right, what are people expecting? What are people wanting us to bring to the market that, no one else is doing? Because it's so easy to just pick from all the same breeders without a doubt. So I want to be able to say, right, hold on a minute, what can we do? Is there some bloodlines out there or something that aren't being tapped into, but we need to get ahead of the game, which I think we'll hopefully pull off, to be fair, and bring them across, and then have this fantastic facility to really say, look at these, if you ain't got one of these in your pond, there's something wrong, sort of thing, and they're accessible.
I think we could probably help you there, Greg. I'll have a little look round and bring my mic a bit closer, but Tamasaba.
Oh God.
Yeah, at least 8 of the 22 ponds will have Tamasaba
in them. But no, I'll throw the question back to Dave and Simon. Actually, like if you were told,
he's the guest, not us.
if you were told you were going to Japan to stock 20 odd ponds worth of koi, what would you be? What would you be buying?
Whose money is it?
Well, that's if you were in Greg's shoes, let's say,
is it my money or is it someone else's money?
Someone else's money. You have to sell it as well.
For me, so I'm because of my job, I'm very business orientated. So for me, I would err towards what can I make money on. Money is, I wouldn't say important to me, but I think that I could safely say that I could go to Japan and put my own personal thoughts on hold for 10, 14 days and buy what I want to buy, because, and I think probably similar to you, Greg, I would say I enjoy the hobby. I enjoy the business side of this hobby. Even when I buy something, I do look at the pound notes, probably more than I do the hobby or my love for the hobby.
Yeah,
if I'm completely honest. So that would be, it'd be a good business trip.
Do you think that like it's an interesting one, isn't it? I mean, I guess the way I want to lead it to is there's certain trends in koi that you see, aren't there? And you'll see, like, you get these kind of things that come along and then flash in a pan type varieties that are popular. And I guess it's like the decision to make when you go out there, and do you stick to more common things, or do you go big and go home? These kind of things that all Greg's got to think about now.
That goes back to my earlier conversation. My genuine, and again, I don't want to upset anyone, although I'm not fussed about upsetting anyone. It's a bit stagnant at the moment. If you see one person doing Tamasaba, you'll see the next person, the next person, the next person, and that trend works its way around the country. Yep. Someone will show a certain breed. I mean, let's look at the Dainichi, the yellow monkey. I mean, those things went from, I can remember having a couple of Tozai that I bought from Amir, and within 6 months, everybody was talking about them, and they quadrupled in price. And all of a sudden, nobody can get one now. And if you do want one, you've got to pay 2-3. So at the moment, it's a market where they can create their own rush. It's a perfect market for sellers, really. And this is where I think you're going to do really well, Greg, with the Aqua Group, is it's seeing those trends. And actually, I can make a lot of money off of this. It was like Pokemon. When Pokemon come around, everything was Pokemon. But in the background, the problem is when Pokemon run out, all of a sudden it went very quiet. Whereas I think you guys are building something that's a bit more sustainable. And
exactly. We don't want to be the flash in the pan business in that respect. It wants to be long-term sustainable, and people are like, it's consistent. The quality's got to be there. That's a big thing back to me from hospitality side of things, that every time you visit, it's got to be on point, because you have that one bad visit and you'll just go, I'm done with it. I'm not going back. So all the time, the level's got to be, it's got to be high. It has got to be up there. So that'll have to show in service, just me chatting to you, any team members, if we bring any on board, the fish themselves and things. And
it's got to be right buys as well, isn't it? Because it's no good just going over there and just bringing stuff back for sake on it, what you're never going to sell.
No, exactly. Yeah, and then you get stuck with all this dead stock. You can't turn it over. Someone will visit, and then they'll go, I'll come back again. Oh, same stock. Actually, it's not worth travelling across
because then you start becoming like the next dealer, don't you?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And that's what you do find, that they'll have lots of fish, and it's just always lots of the same fish. And then they'll not move a lot of fish on, and then they've gone and done some harvests, and they'll start shifting them very quickly out of that pot. Then they'll be left with a few again, and then they add to that pot that they was left with, and it's kind of them rinse and repeat. And it's like, when is this going to finish? Because you're going to end up with that point where you're like, hold on a minute, I've got no space. And then you see it as well leading up to the harvest. You see these absolutely crazy discounts come across the fish, and you just think, well, how much was you trying to make on that to start with? I understand you might now be clearing it at cost, or you're just going to take a loss because you need the space, because we've just hit this, that you need the room. Simple. But again, that's lastminute.com. We're going over to Japan in October, November, and I'm going to do all my deals in October, November. Why not just run them at a nice price throughout? You have the fish, you know what I mean? And just do it that way around. Again, it's the old, right, I put my finger up in the air. That looks really nice. Very high quality. A couple of fire symbols. Boom. I'll have that for $2.5 grand, please. You know what I mean? And and it's crazy, and that's me from a hobbyist side of things, which is what I'll be bringing to the table. That, and I'll just look at fish like that all day, and I'll just scroll past it because I just think, why? You know what I mean? I'm not at that level that I am, like I said earlier, with the air source. Just keep eating for the sake of it and things like that. You can do the vanity side and say, oh yeah, I've spent this on that and I've spent this on that. But I think a lot of people nowadays do like to fall on that nicer quality tow site at a reasonable price.
Well, there's a lot to be said for quality over quantity, I think, because you can go somewhere and just put loads of money into just bringing loads and loads of fish back, and it goes back to like what I was saying earlier, where some dealers would be stuck with fish that they can't move on. But if you've got a lower stock but they're of a higher quality, then you've got a better chance of clearing them all, haven't you?
Yeah,
and it's
with
supply and demand, and it's all of a sudden, if people are turning up and things are starting to sell out very quickly, it then gets people wanting to come back more, doesn't it?
Yeah, and quality doesn't necessarily mean unaffordable, because you can get quality fish at affordable prices, can't you?
Yeah, exactly. But that's where, again, a lot of the dealers do it, where they are actively looking and thinking, I'll do a big spiel about this fish. I'll say it's such and such bloodline, it's from such and such farm, blah, 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 blah. And they'll do a really big, really nice fancy, probably it might be AI written, it might not be, but they'll really make this fish look like you've got to buy it now. And then it creates that, I've got to hit buy, you know what I mean? And I don't agree with that way of selling it. I think because you are trying to just get someone to think, yeah, I want to miss out on that. And then they don't take that time, really think about that fish, and then go, right, hold on a minute, I'll buy it. You see it a lot in the WhatsApp groups, to be fair. The bidding and things like that. That's
one of the points I just want to touch on, is like these WhatsApp groups, and it's not necessarily for this podcast.
Joe's got a real bugbear against these WhatsApp groups.
These WhatsApp groups, the reason these things are held on these WhatsApp groups is because they would not dare post them on social media. Because
it's a way of moving on some fish that they can't move on elsewhere.
What are you talking about? That's going to grow 30 centimetres in 6 months. It's going to win a show. Come on.
If they were to sell these 16 cm fish for these kind of prices that they're trying to get them for, and oversell them for what they're trying to do on social media, they would be shot down by every decent hobbyist in the country with comments on social media. So they get you into these private WhatsApp groups because they think that then they can hide it, and they're immune from criticism from people outside of it, and they just remove people from the WhatsApp groups they don't want on there. So like it's a wake up call for people on these WhatsApp groups. There are good WhatsApp groups out there. Don't get me wrong, there are good ones, and I'm involved with some of them. So, if I'm in them, it's genuinely because they're good ones and I've not been removed from them.
And to those people that Joe has left, we're sorry.
Yeah, and to those ones that are left. But a lot of people will watch some of these podcasts and think, what's he doing? Like, this guy's part of the trade himself. He's got a magazine. I'm doing myself out of sponsorship by some of these companies, and they're not going to come back and sponsor my magazine now. But I honestly think it's the right thing to do for people, that have been where I've been, and I've suffered the blows as well. I've overpaid for fish, and
I think we all have.
We've all been there, and Greg's been there, and that's why I think it's another major asset for like Aqua Group, is that I'm sure one day you'll have a WhatsApp group, but you can be rest assured that it won't be to be selling fish for more with fire emojis, as Greg puts it.
Mine will have at least 3 fire and an ultra very high quality
and some bombs.
Will they be show winners? Future show winners.
Yeah, if they just had a bit of Benny on the back, and when that reaches 80 centimetre, show winner. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. But you got to buy it now. Impulse buy. And
everything that Greg buys in Japan, he's had to crowbar out from the breeder. Like, I wouldn't want to ever let any fish go, a koi breeder.
It was in the breeder's actual own garden, in their own pond.
He brought it in with him, in fact.
Unbelievable, isn't it?
But you hit the nail on the head. It is that, and that it does it. It really boils me, that, and it'll be something you definitely won't see myself and Aqua Group doing. That will just literally bring you koi to the table at various prices, and you'll want to buy them, or you'll say it's not for me, and it's as simple as it is. And you'll go and carry on supporting your local dealers and things like that. And I'm all for that. You know, I mean, I see it a lot of time on the socials. People will pull up they'll put a post on saying, "Oh, what dealer's selling such and such product the cheapest?" And it really bugs me that I get we all want a bargain, but there is a lot of products out there that, you know, I mean, they're supporting local people such as us that are in the industry, have probably brought something to the market, for instance, and then everyone's trying to then get the dealers to undercut each other for this product, and it's just like, just spend local if you've got a local dealer, keep them.
Don't forget, Greg, you are going to be someone's local dealer as well.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's not just a nationwide thing. You are someone's local dealer, and I think,
well, Lincolnshire, there's not much out there.
You try living down south.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I really hope that we can follow this journey with Greg on the podcast. Like I say, we'll try and do either shipment night or opening day, or maybe even both as a group. And Dave and Simon already want to get it on their channels. So if you're not already subscribed to these two, go and do it on YouTube. Great channels for koi hobbyists as well. And
Greg, have you ever watched Si or myself?
No, I have done actually.
Yeah. Which one of us though?
I always hit the dislike button, to be fair.
It's you, is it? I always get one.
Oh, brilliant! Well, yeah, if you are that person that is giving me the dislike button before my videos have even gone live, I'm watching you. I'm finding you. But yeah, no, it's been awesome. Greg's, like I say, off to Japan soon, so I'm sure if you're interested in getting any fish with Greg in Japan, where can they reach out to you?
So we'll be launching the WhatsApp group in the new year. Like I say, there'll be loads of bidding on there, loads of very high quality fire spitting fish. Obviously that's a joke, you know what I mean? Straight away I'll put the post out there and I'll be like, oh, great. No one's joined it. We'll create that, and that'll just be more of the social platform where it'll be just me just chatting to you guys. If you want to just ask me random questions, what we've been up to, I might put other bits of content on there. Just again, you can just pass it forward and backwards, and we'll just chew the fat on what's happening at the facility. If you're interested in anything that we'll be up to when we go to Japan, that'll go through on there as well. It's just a bit easier to obviously communicate than like Facebook Messenger and things like that, for instance, to be truthful. Obviously Facebook, there's the Aqua Group and there's the Aqua Group Koi. So it's the Koi one that I manage, I look after that. So that's the one that's got, again, if you message that, you'll come through to me. And again, I do all the socials on there and have a play with that alongside the marketing guys. There is a little Telegram group if you can find that somewhere, but we've not really done too much with that. I think Telegram is a bit dead in the water. I think WhatsApp's where it's going to be in the new year, to be truthful.
Yeah, sound. So, like I say, go and check Aqua Group out on social media, and like I say, we'll no doubt have Greg back on at some stage and some content up and coming at the facility as well. So, yeah, thanks, Greg, for coming on, and we wish you well, and keep us up to date with all things with this facility, because it's going to be magic.
Yeah, like I say, the new year will be really where it does shift forward, if that makes sense. So if you're not following the content, now be the time to start looking out for it, to be truthful.
Yeah.
Because like I say, all the main building's done, so it'll be the fettling, the filling, the ponds up, you know, all the good stuff. If that makes sense.
The fun bits.
Yeah,
nice.
You got it.
Awesome. Thanks, guys, for joining me, and we'll speak to you again next time.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
See you later.